we've been building on budget junkyard stock block power for a number of years. So if doing those types of build is your thing, you're gonna wanna check this out. We've left quite a bit on the table since the last time we messed with this car. So today we're gonna change that using some of those old parts that we had laying on the shelf so we could make some more horsepower. Got a lot to do in this video, so let's just get right into it. It's been a while since we had Dad's car out of the garage, and with the weather changing, it's probably a good time to get this swapped over before we have to store it. Undoubtedly one of our favorite builds here on the channel. This takes us back to our roots of building stock blocks, stock power. Make a few changes today, see if we can't fire it up on the old Hot Wheels tin. So this motor's seen nitrous, supercharger, and we custom built a turbo kit using a bunch of spare parts that we had laying around in the shop. We've taken it to the dyno. This setup on nitrous made 335, 380 to the wheels. On a supercharger, it made 330, 375 to the wheels. And on the turbocharger, it made 382, 420 to the wheels on about 7 or 8 pounds. What we're trying to accomplish today is we're gonna make probably another 100 horsepower by swapping over some of the parts that I got over here on the table that we've been holding out, putting on the car. But this weekend, I'm hoping to get these on the car and get this thing fired up. And then we can get over to the dyno, dial it in on the old binary editor, and make some more horsepower. And this is an untuned speed density system. This is a 1988 Ford Fox body Mustang. It didn't have a mass air setup. This whole harness is not mass air. There's no chip in this at all. This is a factory DA1 ECU, which is a 8788 5-speed specific speed density computer. Back in the old days, before we had binary editor and any sort of tuning, unlike today's technology where we have Holley Terminator X, Fuel Tech, Haltech, there's just a number of ECU controlling fuel injection systems out there. We didn't have much that we can do. We used to lock our timing and lock our fuel pressure. And about 6, 7, 8 pounds of boost, you could get away with it, not blow your motor up, make a little bit of power, mid 300s. And back in the 90s, man, that was the thing. That was making power, that was running 11s maybe, that was fast. So a number of years ago, we made some videos on how far we could actually push the speed density system. About 7 or 8 pounds of boost. It was running a little bit lean in like the mid 12s AFR. Being speed density, we had to use a fuel management unit and a set of 24-pound injectors along with a check valve on the map sensor to kind of cheat the system to make it work. It's almost kind of like locking your timing and setting the fuel pressure really high. It wasn't the type of fix, it wasn't the type of tuning that was very reliable. But that's where we're gonna go ahead and install some of these other parts that I've had sitting on the shelf, just so we can make a little bit of content here on the channel and see if we can't achieve another 100 horsepower on it. So some of these parts are gonna be new to the car. These are the Ford Racing 42-pound injectors, being that the FMU uses the return rail for the pressure to back the pressure up on the injector. We're gonna put the old factory fuel line back in. Got the old A9L from the white car, which we've made really good horsepower over the years with. But since we have turned the white car over to our Holley Terminator X in 2024, we've made some leaps and bounds with it, made a little bit more horsepower, and definitely ran pretty good. Last couple things we're gonna be installing is, if you guys remember this old school Ford Motorsports plug. Now this will plug right into your ECU just like this. So I'm not sure if this plug even works, but the old harness that we have right now, this is gonna convert the old harness to a mass air harness, and we'll be able to actually bring this old plug through the fender and plug into our BA5000 sensor that we gotta plug into our Then we're gonna load the old school Hot Wheels. This is a Motes quarter horse chip. And if you guys remember the old Hot Wheels build where we did a stock bottom end bone stock motor with some head studs, and I think we ended up making like 475 wheel with that car. Had a lot of fun with Project Hot Wheels. Looks like this, just the GT version. We got a number of things we got to try to get done today, try to get this thing fired up, so hopefully by the end of the video, we'll be able to hit a run. Got a little checklist, just like I tell you guys here on the live chat. Write that shit down, get to work, and get it done. And get your shit off the jack stands. First, we got to get this ECU out, and we got to get this plug through this fender here and try to get that plumbed up first. Then we'll go underneath the car, change the fuel rail, and then everything up top is a breeze. We'll get that done. So we'll start with the hard stuff first. Normally on a mass air conversion, you would just convert the harness over, but being that this plug does that for you, we decided instead of taking the whole engine harness out, we just unplugged it and we went through the door here and went over top of the splash guard. So then we could meet the sensor over here on this intake pipe, which makes it a lot easier and a lot less headache to have to pull that whole harness out. So we cut the boot a little bit, enough to get this by, put a little zip tie on it, put it back in. Nice little clean install for the most part. We decided to take one of the sensors out of our old pipes. Not exactly the best sensor, but it's still got the lock on it. As we got the adapter on the, put it right here in the pipe where the mass air meter goes for this particular setup. Okay, we got the mass air meter hooked up. It's a lot of routing and making sure everything fits. Next, we're gonna actually stay under the car and we're gonna hook our return line up. Now, how the FMU always worked, would use pressure from the manifold and it would have like a little disc inside here and it would back the pressure up on the injectors, forcing more fuel into them, kind of making like 24s work like 30s and 30s work like 42s, and that's just the way it kind of worked. So we got a lot of the work done. That was kind of the time-consuming stuff. And we'll get that swapped over. There's a lot of hot mess going on underneath the dad's car. It went from nitrous to supercharger to what now is a turbo, but eventually we're gonna end up going over through all that stuff and getting rid of a whole lot of it because it's just a hot mess. One thing about the speed density build that we did have going on is it ran really rich and then it ran pretty lean and it never was actually accurate and never really dialed in on a tune. And what really kind of sparked all of it is my dad would tell me, hey, when I'm driving it and it starts to warm up, it just stalls at a red light. And that's classic for having the speed density FMU cheating the map sensor type build, you know, just the old school stuff. That stuff we had to deal with years and years ago. But with that chip tune that we're gonna put in here with the Project Hot Wheels and going back to the dyno and dialing in a little better, my dad won't have that problem when he's driving it in 2025. Get the exhaust finished up as we got it sitting over there, and that way he could have some fun with it. So this shouldn't be too bad. Just unplug the harness here and just put the injectors in, put the intake back on. But I wanted to show you the map sensor. When you're running a speed density system with the FMU, you have to run a check valve so it doesn't give it positive boost pressure here. So what we're gonna do converting to mass air is we're gonna unplug this and this vents to atmosphere and become. We got a chance to take our GT40 intake off and clean it up and get a chance to, you know, check the gasket and such. It's not too bad. Looks like a little bit was getting by, but we'll get that sensor switched over. We'll get these injectors switched over. Then we'll load the tune on, like I had talked about, onto the quarter horse. Got the new injectors in, and we're going to check to make sure there's no leaks. I'm not seeing any leaks. So that's one of the things about the GT40 intake. It's got a lot of vacuum, so we just plug all the front ones. We don't ever use them. All right, we got the tune loaded up. This is an old quarter horse chip. Used to be able to put 3 or 4 or 5 tunes on here. I don't remember. We'll put a little dielectric grease on it and then get it installed in the back of the computer. And again, this used to be my old White Cars A9L. We made like damn near 1,000 horsepower with this stupid computer. I'm surprised it lasted as long as it did. Pretty much slides up in here, pretty easy. Puts into the J port here. Now we just got to get some fuel in it. It's definitely empty. Got some good old 93 pump gas from Speedway. So one of the things I forgot to mention is this has a 255 wired pump. We got to put a 340 in it to make it be like the old Hot Wheels account. Okay, here's the moment of truth. We're going to go through our little checklist. Chip and tune. Let's get it fired up. So it looks like we got a little bit of a leakage after we fuel pressurized. So we'll go ahead and change some of these O-rings over. While I got them out, I guess we'll change all the O-rings and make a quick test to make sure they're all firing. Not sure why it didn't just fire right up, you know, but it is what it is. Got this little setup here that I made from like $10 in parts. Put some new O-rings on them so they don't leak all over the place. Get them put back in, get it set up. Well, after all that, we couldn't get it running. But wait a minute. Don't hang up on me just yet. The craziest shit, man, I'm not even gonna, let me just tell you. We pulled the quarter horse out, we loaded the tune up, it didn't want to run. Not really sure why it didn't want to run, but we're gonna have to go through that chip and clear it out. And so what we did was we took an old couple tunes that we had sitting in my box of random shit, and on the back of it, it says Hot Wheels, which is basically the tune we wanted anyways. I have no idea what was on this chip, but I'm gonna assume that I didn't overwrite it. So we decided to give it a shot, plugged it in, and here's what happened. But it's still got to warm up. It really runs really good. A lot better than it did with speed density. Let's go for a ride. This tune's probably 6-7 years old. Plug it right in and pretty much the same combo, and it's like it never left the car. Idles just fine. Needs some tweaking for sure, but that's okay. We'll figure it out. This will be a good bass tune to go to the dyno with and pull it off the chip and you know, kind of tweak it out a little bit. So. Went on a test drive, didn't even expect it to go that well. A little bit of tweaking needs to be done on that tune, but it fired right up and ran. Car runs a whole lot better with this than it does with the old speed density system, as expected. Junkyard turbo build, we had a tune saved from years ago. I'm just surprised it even worked, but you know what, my dad, like I said, my dad's gonna be happy because he'll be able to drive it and not stall, and we'll probably end up making a little bit more power with it. Where we go from here, we just gotta clean up this engine bay and get rid of some of the old stuff and the old gauges and get them moved again and make it look more like a street car. If you guys enjoy this sort of content, leave me a big thumbs up, leave me a comment below, let me know what you think. Let me know if you got a similar style build, or this is where you plan on going to at some point in your Fox body build. Pretty simple, pretty easy. Got a lot of footage about it. If you haven't subscribed already, consider subscribing. Check out that join button. Become a member of the channel today to get exclusive content to the channel. We got some merch at neomustangs.com. Got some hats, got some new t-shirts, got some new stick shift stuff going on there. Appreciate you guys for watching this long. We will see you soon in the next video.